How's it going, everybody? My name is JustJarrod, but you can just call me Jared, and welcome back to another legendary loot news video. Today we're talking about Destiny. Yes, Destiny. It's been months since I've talked about the game on this channel because, well, I was taking my usual once-a-year hiatus from the game because it was becoming unfun, like it tends to be every now and again. If you're a fan of the Destiny franchise, you know that it's an up-and-down roller coaster ride with the state of the game. One season it can be fantastic, and the next two could be dull as hell and filled with questionable design choices and monotonous grind. There's a lot of issues with the game, there always has been. Things are always changing, being adjusted based on player feedback, based on player experience. There's always new mechanics, new design choices, new seasonal models, new complaints, new bugs, new frustrations. Destiny is an ebb and flow game where it'll never be perfect, but will always be striving to reach as close to that measure as it can, even though Bungie knows it's impossible to please everyone. But there's always a little light, pun intended, at the end of the Destiny tunnel. Today we're going to be looking beyond this fall's expansion, beyond light, into next year. There's something that excites me even more than this fall's expansion, something that should make Destiny so much more enjoyable for the long term. Now, what could that be? What could be more exciting than a new expansion? Well, loot. Bungie is planning a massive redesign of Destiny's loot mechanics for next year, a redesign that could better the game as a whole and transform the boring loot mechanics we have now into something with much more customization, much more excitement, much more depth, and much more longevity. How do I know this? Well, let's talk about it. Stay a while and listen. Beyond this next part of the video where I show the one and only Luke Smith of Bungie, you won't need to watch the video. You can just listen if you want to open up another tab and do something else, because the gameplay in the background is just me AFK forge farming. Oh, wait a minute, they fixed that. Well, it'll likely be mediocre Destiny gameplay as I try to hit the power level for the new dungeon. It won't be exciting, trust me. So I'm going to show you this Luke Smith clip, and then you can tab somewhere else and just listen to the video. Anyways, Luke Smith, Destiny's game director, had an interview with Twitch streamer Dr. Lupo after the Beyond Light Destiny reveal on June 9th. Luke answered a ton of questions that came from fans, but the one question, or rather the one answer to a question we're going to be focusing on, is when Dr. Lupo asked Luke if we would ever be getting an auto-dismantle option for blue rarity loot.
Any plans for like an auto dismantle on blue drops? No, I mean, nobody's really keeping those except for maybe one or two one-offs. A chance to just have those get filtered right into the butter churner as soon as we pick them up?
I think the real question, although, again, I'll break it to jail here. The real question is, hey, when am I going to start using greens and blues again? I think that's an interesting question because right now we have a bunch of the colors that in fact aren't used. And so, that's my inversion of that question. Don't worry, that the thing I'm talking about is not happening this fall. But that's a real design question we ask, which is, why do we have these other colors if we're not going to use them?
This isn't him saying that next year they're going to be just getting rid of all the rarities. This is Luke Smith saying, breaking a bit out of the jail, which means giving up information he's not meant to reveal yet. This is him teasing that they're going to be reworking the other rarity colors into the game. Just watch his facial expressions here. He's excited about what he's teasing. This is the most excited he is during his entire interview. He's excited about this new loot rework. They've got something good planned at Bungie with this idea, and Luke knows it. Why is this important? Who would want to ever even think about equipping greens or blues ever again? Well, in the state at which they are at now, nobody would. Greens and blues offer up nothing. All blues offer are more common drops to get us closer to a soft power cap during the beginning of a new season or expansion. They offer up nothing in terms of use, stats, perks. Hell, they look cosmetically terrible too. Nobody wants to equip anything below legendaries, and why would you? There's no reason to. But what if there was a reason to? Let's just use rare gear as an example here to make it more straightforward. Blue rare gear. What if blues had certain perks or certain buffs attached to them that could only be found on blues? Something completely new to Destiny, a brand new set of perks, brand new mechanics even. Something that you can't find on any other piece of gear, no matter the rarity, only blues. Just this one simple change would add a considerable amount of depth if done correctly. Now, who knows what these perks or differences would or could be? We could speculate, we could come up with cool ideas forever and ever, but it doesn't matter, because if Bungie is already planning on reworking lower rarities back into the game, then they already have an idea of what and how to do exactly that. Bungie knows they would have to do something to convince players to change out purple gear for blue gear. There would have to be a reason. Now, let's assume there is a reason, whatever that may be, solely for the purpose of adding on to this conversation, so we can talk about how this could change Destiny for the better for the long term. When was the last time you actually looked at a blue drop? When last did you give one single F about a blue drop in Destiny? When did you last equip a blue gun and think to yourself, man, I think I'll keep this around for a while? That's right. No one cares about blues. It's an entire rarity of the game that nobody cares about. Whites, greens, and blues technically make up more than half of the rarities in Destiny. If they didn't exist, nobody would care. Commons and uncommons don't even drop after the beginning of the game, bro. Listen, if blues mattered, if the other rarities mattered more, the game would have more depth, and the loot wouldn't be as boring to acquire. Loot in Destiny is boring to acquire. My opinion, I know, but hear me out. Almost any time ever when I see a legendary or exotic engram drop out in the world, I do not care. I pick up that engram and say out loud to myself maybe, oh look, another Edge Transit, or oh look, another Aeon Swift, and I instantly forget about it and dismantle it later. I'm not excited for anything to drop out in the world in Destiny 2. The RNG that was so frequently talked about and memed back in the D1 days almost means nothing anymore because the world loot pool is unexciting because so many legendaries, especially weapons, are miles worse than other legendary weapons that you get from quest lines or specific places. I get it. If you know where to get an item, then it's farmable, which is what most players want. But then, it's so easy for everyone to have everything or very close to it. What if RNG was exciting again? What if there were perhaps other rarities that had different perks specific to them? Perks unique to a rarity that could make loot drops from the world and RNG exciting again. They could even go the route of essentially making blues have the perks and stats some of the legendaries have, which would in turn make the blues more of a viable option. Then give the now legendaries something extra to separate them from the new blues, which then could lead to legendaries actually feeling legendary from a rarity standpoint versus how they feel now, which is common because there are so many of them and you literally get them everywhere. In simple terms, change some of the purples into blues. Give the purples something to separate them from blues. Make purples rarer, but make them worth it. And add it all to the world loot pool. It would be exciting to see engrams drop again. Your anticipation would grow as you kill enemies. The Skinner's box theory that drives all loot games and drives all addiction to loot games would be back. If Bungie can implement something like this correctly, it could be a game changer, and I desperately mean that. Anything that changes the loot or changes the loot mechanics for the better in a loot-centric game has a domino effect. Once loot is more exciting, more desirable, once there's more loot to chase, more reasons to chase it, everything else becomes that much more exciting because the game revolves heavily around that loot. Now, Bungie has given us reasons throughout the lifetime of Destiny to question some of their design choices and game mechanics. They announce something, we get excited, that thing releases, and we're left wondering, why though? I'm looking at you, Grandmaster Nightfalls. But I have a wicked theory that Bungie has been planning this loot mechanics redesign for a long time now, meaning they've thought this out and thought this through for much longer than we might anticipate, which hopefully equates to something that will come out of the gate strong and will make the game instantly better. Here's why I think Bungie has been planning this for quite some time. Implementing an entire loot rework like this would take time. It wouldn't work in the game right now for multiple reasons. Blues are in the game currently, just tacking on an exclusive batch of perks to them would be weird and wouldn't make sense because as much as blues aren't used, we still need them, and I use the word need loosely here, to dismantle into materials. Also, as stated before, blue gear looks gross and ugly. Nobody wants to look gross and ugly. Come on, this is Destiny, it's all about fashion. Another reason, you can't just simply change some legendaries to rares out of nowhere if they decided to go that route, when they are part of people's builds or whatever. If my fate cries foul suddenly turned into a blue and nothing else changed, I really wouldn't care, but I'm sure 80% of the fan base would freak out that their quote-unquote favorite legendaries aren't quite as legendary because of a simple color change. Then you've got the whole power level stuff and all that. There's a ton of mechanics that are in the way of a massive change like a loot redesign right now. It simply isn't possible in today's Destiny. Q gear sunsetting. Yes, sunsetting, the controversial thing that Bungie has implemented in order to make sure that the sandbox of Destiny stays interesting, exciting, and dynamic. In lamest terms, what this means is that some of your old gear won't be able to be infused up to the new current power level. Meaning, if you want to tackle the more challenging parts of the game in the future, you'll have to set aside your Revoker and your Mountaintop and equip new guns and armor. When Season 12 of Destiny kicks off, which is next season, Season 1 through 8's gear, with some exceptions, will cap out at the max power level of Season 11. If this loot redesign is planned for sometime next year, and Bungie wants to convert some legendary gear to rare gear, they would be able to do that a lot easier because 3 years of gear will be sunsetted by that time. This loot redesign might be another reason why sunsetting exists, because it will make that change much easier. But still, I mean, if lower rarity gear is implemented back to the game, nobody's going to want to equip that ugly tattered chest piece or those boots that look like they were pulled out of the dumpster behind the spicy ramen shop. Nobody wants that. Cue transmogrification, which we also know that we are getting. Transmogrification will allow us to change the look of any armor piece to the look and style of another armor piece that we've previously obtained, whilst maintaining the perks and stats of the equipped armor. We will begin to feel the effects of gear sunsetting next season. Transmogrification is coming sometime in Year 4, and all signs point to a complete loot rework coming soon after. Those are my thoughts. That was a lot, I know. Luke, you really left us with a pretty big teaser there that I can't believe nobody else is talking about. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this down in the comments. I hope this video gets some traction because I'd love to know what the higher-ups in the community think about this too. I'm an absolute diehard fan of Destiny and have been for a long time. I've always wanted them to bring back the other rarities because the potential is insane, and I can't wait to find out what Bungie has up their sleeve this time. Also, if you want to check out the full interview with Luke Smith, Dr. Lupo's video of it is linked down below. If you enjoyed this video and managed to get all the way through it, give it a like as it helps to get the video out to more people, and subscribe for more epic loot news on Destiny. Also follow me on Twitter for more game news that doesn't quite make it into videos, and for other game shenanigans and discussions. My name has been JustJarrod. Until next time, have a legendary day, night, afternoon. Peace out.